Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky here again for another art lesson. I'm glad you could join me today. Today, I'm going to introduce something from another culture. It's an art form called Rangoli, and it's a special celebration, ceremonial kind of artwork that is special because it's a temporary thing. It's not something that's meant to be permanent, and that makes it pretty special. This kind of artwork you can find a lot in the country of India. It's based on the format of a circle and it radiates out from the circle. So we have a lot of balance going on. We have something called radial symmetry, which is a feature of art which has all the parts of it arranged like according to a circle. So one side matches the other side, but one side also matches that other side. All the way around, you can fold it separate ways and the sides are all the same. That's radial symmetry. There's also something called bilateral symmetry, which is when you can take two sides of something and fold it and it's the same on either side. Today, technically, it has bilateral symmetry as well, but we're going to focus on radial symmetry, which is something in the shape of a circle that you can cut any old way, and all the sides and all the cuts you make out of it will look the same. And I'll show you some great examples of it. One of the things I want to show you is a video by an artist named Pranali Tulsankar, and she creates Rangoli in a very traditional way using sand. Now, I don't expect all of you to have colored sand around, but I'm going to show you a video, which you can see in the links below, where she demonstrates the traditional method of using sand. You pour sand into these elaborate, beautiful designs. Now, one more thing about Rangoli to note is that they're often focused on really pretty floral designs and things you'll find in nature. So some of the shapes you'll see are ones that are more organic shapes as opposed to geometric shapes. We got to do some Rangoli outside with students at our school, and I thought you'd like to see some of the beautiful examples they created. Look at the different colors and look at how it begins in the center with like a circle shape and it keeps radiating out further and further and further. And you can see a repetition of natural designs. It looks like a flower. There's also repetitions of certain kinds of lines, like we've got a swirly here and a zigzag here. So a lot of repetition takes place. There's kind of a rhythm to them where they come in regular intervals, and sometimes there's a variety of intervals as well, but we have alternating color patterns. So this was a really great example. In India, you can find these beautiful artwork around the holiday of Diwali, which is in October and November each year. You can find it other times too, but especially then. And this one I loved. This is where somebody got the clever idea of using the circle tabletop outside at the school right by the playground and turned it into a Rangoli design. And finally, I have one of the teachers did a really huge, elaborate one too. I think this was Miss Jones. She did a great job. But what you can see here is if I were to draw a line right down here, one side would match the other. And if I drew a line diagonally across here, one side which would match another. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about radial symmetry. If you were to cut a radius straight through this circle, one side would match the other side. Its symmetry means it's the same, symmetrical on either side. This side matches that side. This Rangoli was created by artist Sudhir Sarovaram. And if you look closely, you can see that it's composed of little teeny pieces. It looks like flower petals or different kind of food products, but that's also very common. And it's in the traditional circular shape where everything radiates out from the center. In many cultures, this is also known as a mandala form, which basically means the word circle in the Sanskrit language. If you look closely at this one, you can see the very center. There's a mound of some sort of little ball, I think, and there's kind of a swirl shape radiating out from the center, and then we reach another level. It's like these go in layers. So this layer has swirls, and this layer here looks like it has this almost like a flower petal shape. And the purple color repeats. There's a rhythm and repetition here with the orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, going round and round. And then up here in this next layer, you have another repetition of that same color here, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow. They see that? And it's filled in with white in the middle, and it looks like there's some heart shapes involved too. For today's project, you're going to need that box colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a white piece of computer paper. To do a Rangoli, the focus is to have circles, and you can use things like plates and cups to trace little circles to make them perfect, but you don't really have to trace anything. It'll work out just fine if you just freehand your own circles. But if you wanted to use cups and bowls, ask your parents' permission and go ahead. Just make sure they get small. They start out small and get bigger and bigger. Now I just need to fill out each layer. For the center layer, I could choose to do something that goes towards a dot in the center. I could do, I don't know, a little line that I just pull out from the center like that, and I can fill each section differently. That would be fun. So once I'm done with that layer, now I can move to the next layer. What do I want to do for the next layer? Maybe more circles. Maybe between my circles, I'll do a little dot. And then maybe here, the next layer, I'll move on out to that next layer. Maybe I'll connect my circles with a triangle. That'd be kind of fun. For this section, I'm going to do some little flowers at the tip of each of those triangles that I created. And they're not very fancy, just a simple little flower. And then notice as I start drawing these at each of these tips, how I rotate the paper along with me. It makes it a lot easier to draw if you just turn the paper all the time in a circle, and then you can just keep drawing as you go around the circle. I had fun with swirls on this layer. Remember, I talked about coloring these different parts. I could color each of these little sections. That would be fun. The word Rangoli actually means color. I decided on doing an alternating red-yellow pattern, but then I came across a problem. As I went along, I realized that I was going to have two reds next to each other, and I needed to fix it. So I erased it, and then I added another two lines, and then the pattern worked out so it could just repeat on forever. You discover things like this when you're drawing, and it's okay. That's one of the good reasons to use a pencil with an eraser, so that if you discover a problem, you can erase it and fix it before you color it. We've made the radial symmetry with the shapes. Everything's a mirror of the image of each other with the shapes. But the colors, it's up to you. Maybe you don't want the colors to be a mirror image of each other. Maybe you want to do a different color for each of these, well, each of the dots or something else you're doing. Just keep coloring and filling in all those spaces. Press a little harder if you want a darker color. And don't forget you can outline things to make them stand out a little bit more. You can go all the way around one layer if you want. That'll make it stick out and be separate from the other layers. And there's the finished product. Think about whether you could do these outside yourself. If you have some sidewalk chalk, ask your parents. Maybe you could try it out on your sidewalk, just like they do in India, out in front of your home. Some beautiful piece of art that may only last a little bit, but it'll still bring a smile to people's faces who pass by and see the beautiful thing that you created. Please share your artworks, the ones you drew on paper or the ones you draw with chalk. I'd love to see them.